Hi, I'm Siwa Feely, and I'm here with my co-host Craig, and we are Native Voice TV. Thanks for being here. Well, we have a great guest for you today, and we're going to hear some really exciting stories from him.
Scary stuff.
Scary stuff. Ooh. Welcome, Mike Marin.
Thank you very much for having me.
And you're originally from Oakland, but you came all the way from LA.
Yes.
Hollywood.
Via Chicago.
It's a nice long walk, but got here. All right.
Well, I know you had a little traffic on the way.
Yeah.
Broke a heel or something. So you made a movie.
Yes, I did.
And the movie is?
It's called The Smudging.
Is it scary?
It is a Native American supernatural thriller in a genre that I created that we can talk about later called urban native horror, which is the short of it is taking traditional native stories and bringing them to an urban environment. So that's my focus as a filmmaker.
Is that different than traditional like reservation horror stories?
Just that the streets are paved.
The streets are
paved. Well, it's
there's running water.
Yeah. How I grew up urban in Oakland, California, and we used to hear stories and stuff when we go to my grandma's house in Carson City, or my other grandma in Gallup, New Mexico, and bringing those stories in my head back to Oakland in the urban area as a kid, they impacted you. And then as I got older, I started thinking, what if something like this was loose in the streets? What if there was a lot of urban natives that grew up like I did that didn't really know too much about reservation folklore? How would we react to something loose on the streets like that? Mm-hmm. So those are my stories. My character I play is I like to be the investigative reporter. So I'm looking at these things from an investigative standpoint and then discovering if they're real or not. I don't want to give too much away in the stories, but that's pretty much is me trying to find the truth about where it comes from and see how much trouble I can get into while I'm doing this.
So now you wrote and produced the film?
Yes.
Did you act in it too?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You did it all.
Because no one will cast me. No. So I put myself in my own films. No. I was seeing an independent film that was pretty successful called It Follows. Came out about 3 years ago, and it's one of the most successful independent horror films ever. And as soon as I watched this film, I left the theater, I went to a restaurant nearby, literally grabbed a stack of napkins and asked the waitress for a pen and just started brain dumping on these napkins. And that night I went home, I wrote 30 pages of script for the story that I'd been developing this story since 2009 when I was employed at where the film is set, which is the former American Indian Center of Chicago. And the things you hear from other people about stuff they've experienced in that building, and then you start experiencing them too. Everything went on this paper, and I developed a story. And then within a couple weeks prior to writing it on the napkins, we were shooting. We started shooting it.
So it's based on a true story, sort of.
Yes, I'd say 90% of the film is things that actually happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that happens quite frequently. If you see a lot of cinema, American cinema, like The Shining or Amityville Horror, or even today contemporary horror movies, they're all kind of a lot of them are based on Indian legends, or Stephen King. They're buried they're over a Indian cemetery or something like that.
Poltergeist.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just say the Wendigo is a huge force in his stories. Wendigo usually makes an appearance. Any of his stories that are set in Maine, he always makes sure that force is behind something or multiple things. So, yeah.
And even like on Ghost Adventures, when you watch that, it's always because of some native land there has something on, or they're building something, or something's occurring there.
Yeah. So it all this type of storytelling that I'm doing all comes from things that I know about or have heard about, and stories that I've gathered from other people. And since I was the youth program coordinator in the building for our Native youth, they had their own experiences in that building. I remember one night we were having a talking circle, and one of the kids told me every time the candle flickered when we were talking, there was shadows standing behind us, or the people that I saw. There was a shadow behind them. And then a couple times they were upstairs on the third floor, which was we had a sports annex where they could play sports, and they would come running down the stairs saying there was somebody watching them. So of course I would go up there, and there was nobody, but they'd see things all the time. And then there was an instance where one of my coworkers worked in the food pantry in the basement, and she heard what sounded like a drum group playing in the tribal hall above her. And then she heard bells like dancers. So she was excited. Oh, they're dancing, they're practicing. She came upstairs, the tribal hall was completely dark.
Wow.
There was nobody in there, so yeah, those kind of stories. Yeah.
I was going to say, how could you differentiate between regular ghosts and spirits and native spirits? But you mentioned the tribe, you heard the drum.
Yeah.
And I have heard before that on some battlefields, you can hear the warriors.
Right.
Yeah.
The spirits of the warriors.
Yeah, there was I was taking some second unit shots of the outside of the building, and then I came home and downloaded the footage and had my headphones on, and at one point when I was panning the camera around the building, you could hear a drum. But the building was locked up, there was nobody inside. I came on a day when the building was closed, and you could hear it plain as day, that drum. So, yeah.
Did that particular building have any history to it? Oh, it did.
Yes, it's a former Masonic temple, and from what we were told, when the Masons left that building, they scattered the remains of their members around the top floors. There was a room that they kept the urns of their members that had passed away, and I guess when they were leaving, they decided to shatter them and scatter the ashes around. So that's where a lot of that came from.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a medicine man from Minnesota come down, and he would bless the building, and he would tell us the things he saw. We had a Navajo medicine man come and say the same thing, that they would say there's a lot of pain in that building. And I used to see it, to me it looked like it was breathing. And I remember people would just kind of laugh at it, but then that's just what I saw. What I felt in that building was really thick. And with the storytelling, one aspect of that is I think solidarity is really tested in a lot of Native communities. And in Indian centers, solidarity is really a fight sometimes. There's all kind of viewpoints on a certain issue. And one part of my story is how this entity that lives in the building feeds off of that. It loves that fighting. It loves that negative energy. And there are several themes in my screenplay that reflect Native issues in communities, such as violence against women, committees, powwow committees, and boards of directors fighting, and how this thing that lives on the fourth floor loves it. It loves to feed off that negativity. So that was a lot of those things I witnessed even growing up at the Intertribal Friendship House in Oakland. While my mom and dad worked there, I would, as a kid, sit there on the side while listening to board meetings and the arguments, and not just arguments. There was a lot of good things that come out of that. But that's when that solidarity works, But if you have negativity a majority of the time, there's always going to be something that feeds off of that, and it loves it.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Yes. So you produced this movie, and how could it be seen?
Right now, it's playing the festival circuit, and there's a screening coming up. Actually, 2 screenings coming up. The first one will be at the Blue Water Cinemas, which is at the Blue Water Casino and Hotel in Arizona, Parker, Arizona. And that screening will be on Friday, September 28th at 5 p.m. There'll be a Q&A following that. And then the screening after that is UC San Diego for their Native American Heritage Month. They're having me host a screening there. They're not really settled yet on the location, but I will announce that on my Facebook page and on Instagram as well.
And on your Facebook page, which is?
Mike J. Marin.
So people, if they want to follow you to know when you're going to have screenings in different locations, they can go to your Facebook site?
Yes, and request my friendship, and then with that, you get the key to the kingdom. You get
Just say you saw him on Native Voice TV.
Yeah, there you go. That's
That'll
right.
be the key.
So, well, that's wonderful. Do you have anything in the works?
Right now, I am currently shooting a short film called The Ghost Box, and for me, it's a very personal project because it's a metaphor for letting go of ones we lost. I lost my oldest brother in '91, and you know, when you lose a sibling or a parent, there's always that pain. It never goes over. Your heart's always going to carry that scar. And for me, this is a resolve. This story is a resolve to let go, and to appreciate what you had in that relationship, and then to let go. That's the metaphor. But of course, there's some scary stuff that's going to happen in that process. The story is basically, if you're familiar with ghost hunting, they always have a ghost box where the voices come out and just says words. Well, this one speaks in the voice of your relatives, but what I'm trying to find out is what's talking to you, is that really the person you think it is, if it is a person. So that's what I'm investigating in this short story. I'm also working on a short film, a short comedy called Unbelievable, where you're going to get to see what ghosts think about people investigating them. So
That's interesting.
yeah, we're going to find out what ghosts actually think when investigators come in their house, and the things they go through to either help them out or to make fun of them. So
Say, get out of here.
yeah,
Leave me alone.
and we started filming my second feature film, which is called Moshego, and Moshego is a Washoe word which means spirit or entity. And in this one, it's another urban native horror story about this thing that comes to urban areas, and people start seeing it, and they start to, and so I'm going to go and investigate it. My brother and I are going to go investigate this thing and see if it's real. And so it's kind of like a Bigfoot hunt type thing, but in urban areas with all these native people that have seen this thing.
So does Moshego also appear before non-natives, or is it just natives?
The story is basically focused on natives, native people, because they believe in it. So therefore, it manifests more to people that believe in it. There is some non-native takes on it, but a lot of the times, and from experience when I've spoken to non-natives about things that have happened at the Indian Center, they're skeptical. There's a lot of skepticism there. So it kind of takes it from that point, from the skepticism versus the belief.
How did you get into filmmaking?
I went to, I'm a movie buff. Anybody that knows me knows, oh man, you talk to Mike, you're going to be talking about films forever. Films for me was an escape from reality, and then you find out that a lot of films that you watch are reflective of things that happen to you or people you know. And you find out cinema can be a real good tutor. There's a lot, believe me, there is a lot of lessons to be learned just by watching Rocky. You watch Rocky and you learn to never quit. That's one thing is you push yourself. But I love film, I love horror films. Horror films, I don't like roller coasters. I don't like heights, but you put me in a cinema with a good horror film and a good crowd, and I'm on that roller coaster, or I'm on that ledge. And my earliest experience with a horror movie was in the Bay Area. There used to be a show in the 70s called Creature Features. It was hosted by the late great Bob Wilkins, and he would come out, and this show came on Fridays and Saturdays at 11 on Channel 2 on KTVU. And my parents were in a native bowling league, so they would be out, and I was left to be babysat by my brother that passed. And I remember him sitting on the floor playing solitaire, and I was just flipping channels. I came across Night of the Living Dead. And prior to that, for me, it was all Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Universal horror, old giant bug sci-fi movies like them and Tarantula. And I'm saying, okay, this black and white horror movie, okay, all right, it's just a black and white. Man, I don't know how many times through watching that I changed the channel, and he was like, just watch it. I'm here, you're fine, just watch it. So I turned it and watched the rest of the film. And then I thought, I was my parents were like, why'd you let him watch that? He's gonna go to bed crying. And that's all I could talk about the next day was this film. And my dad was like, now my dad told me, you talked about that film in such great detail that it made your mom and I want to watch it. We had never seen it. So then we went to, I couldn't get enough. Halloween, Chainsaw Massacre, and then I became a student of the genre. And then I started developing my own story. And then I went to Columbia College, Chicago for film school. I wanted to be a Disney animator, but then you see how much work that is. And then I got into script writing, screenwriting, and that was my strong point. Just putting my stories down on paper. And then graduated, and then a couple more years after that, I said, I want to make a film. I want to try to make a film. So then I saw that independent film, and then everything just snowballed from there.
Wow.
What would you say to those that are watching that maybe they're young, like you were once, or still are, but they want to become a filmmaker? No matter, it doesn't have to be horror, but anything.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Do it. Just two words, do it. And I say that with confidence because it doesn't take anything to tell a story. If you want to tell it with a pen and paper or with a camera, there's nothing stopping you but yourself. And I fully encourage to do it. If you have a story to tell it. Because if you let it go by, if you keep putting it off, all you're going to be left with is a sack full of yesterdays. I mean, start now and just do it. It doesn't, people, the problem with us, with artists, is we're always comparing ourselves to somebody else. Like there have been many times in my film my films have been in festivals, and I'm sitting in the back going, oh, this thing's gonna suck. I'm just gonna jump out of here. And then at the end when people are clapping, you're just like, wow, I guess I did okay.
People really liked it.
Yeah, I guess I did okay. And we wouldn't get to that point if we didn't first have the courage to take that first step. I mean, the first step is always the hardest, but it's always the best. When your hindsight's 20/20, you're gonna look back and say that first step was the best thing I did because I didn't wait. And I did it according to how I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. So, and another thing that we look at, the questions I've been asked is, if you're offered tons of money by a studio to redo your film, would you do it? And I said no, because a lot of studios will take a native theme film and totally make it their own. The natives will become the backdrop, right, and then the rest will be filled in by non-native actors. And that's one thing I don't want in my film. There are stories. We have the right to tell them how we tell them because we've lived them. There are stories. There's no price tag to the things that we know or see or can tell, sing about, write about. There's no price tag for it. And that's one thing that I would tell young people is don't sell yourself short. Not everything that glitters is gold. Because one day you're gonna look back 50 years from now with your family and tell them, see that? I did that. You're not going to be able to say, see that? I wrote that, but it's not as it was. I mean, I had Wes Studi and they got Morgan Freeman. So, exactly. It's that type. Keep it your own. Keep everything your own because that way you can steer to where you want it to go. You can steer it to where you want it to go.
And less chance of offending the culture or the tribe. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Exactly, and keeping it real.
Yeah, along the lines of that too, I had to ask permission to do my film. My cousin, Vincent Romero, who also plays the character of Robert Locke, the medicine man in my film, he went to one of our elders, one of our Dene elders in New Mexico, and asked, if we can do this film, if it's okay for us to do a film with this subject matter. And he's very dramatic. He comes back and says, so this elder sits on the ground and he listens to what I'm saying. He raises his hand and I'm all ready to hear his wisdom, and he just goes, it's just a movie. Have fun. Just don't hurt yourselves or other people. Have fun with it. It's just a movie. So that was our blessing. Came back, and then everything was green light after that.
Wow. And so you went back to Chicago, or you were still there?
I was still there. I was still there filming. And then I moved back in 2016, 17? One of those years. I moved back 2 years ago. 2 years ago to Los Angeles. And you come with the idea that you're going to break in the film industry as a, and then you find out that you're a needle in a stack of needles. And the thing you never stop having that's free is fun. You just have fun doing it. I mean, if you can find a good group of actors that will work for $5 carry-out pizzas or ramen noodles, I'm your director. I'm your guy. But a lot of horror directors will tell you, and this is true because I've experienced it, is you have so much fun making a horror film. Everybody has a good time. Everybody has a good time. And the first time I ever heard that was from my favorite horror director, the great John Carpenter. John Carpenter is just, to me, his filmmaking style is very simple. It's very practical filmmaking, and that's what I like about it. And I remember seeing an interview where he said that. Man, he goes, horror movies are fun. Your comedies are a pain in the butt, but horror movies are the best. And then experiencing that, now that people saw so much fun we had on the smudging, whenever I ask for actors, I need actors that are willing to work for less than peanuts. But if you come with a passion, let's do it. And
everybody wants to be in a movie.
I was offered, one of my friends offered her baby. Can you put a baby in your movie? I guess if I could play a father or something, sure. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And for any viewers out there that ever had the desire to do it, do it. Just do it. It's so much fun.
Oh, how exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
We have like 4 or 5 minutes left, but you also have a clothing line. Tell me about that. That is really cool what you're wearing there. It's beautiful. Did you design that as well?
Yes. My clothing line I started in April of 1996 in the Bay Area. It's called Red Gear Productions. And I started out with two designs at UC Berkeley Powwow. Just gave me one little table and I had 2 designs. I sold out my entire collection in an hour. And after that, I just started drawing more and more. And my parents started supporting it. So now it's a full-fledged clothing line. Wow. My parents do powwows. The biggest one we do in the Bay Area is Stanford. And we're there every year. Just look for the Red Gear sign and the red tent. We're the red tent. And now my stuff is online. I finally was able to put my stuff online, and that website is teespring.com/stores/redgear96, and spelled out Teespring, T-E-E, spring, /stores/redgear96. And you can go there and you find, within the past 3 months, I did 75 new designs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess I got a creative bug, so it's all there. So please visit my website. Hit me up.
Are you on Facebook too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When you log in, when I accept your friendship for Mike J. Marin, you have access to Red Gear Productions page. You have access to the smudging page, Ghostbox, Mashego, and my art page, MJM Productions. So you get the keys of the kingdom. You become my friend on Facebook, and
Mike J. Marin. Don't forget that, and just say, I saw you on Native Voice TV.
Yes.
And he'll let you see everything. That's so exciting. Yeah. So you have these screenings right now. Is there going to be a time where we can go see this in the theater or get a DVD or?
If I could get a distributor, that would be great. I've been told by people that have watched it, said that it has cult status, which is fine. Better than having no status, But I will be streaming it on Amazon Prime starting in December. As soon as these public screenings are done, it's going to go public on Amazon Prime.
Okay. So that'll be posted on your Facebook page.
Yes. Oh yeah. We'll have
keep following you. That's so exciting. Well, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. That is wonderful. I had been reading a lot about you here and there, and people were mentioning you. I think before you moved, did you move? You were in Oakland first, or then
yes,
you went?
I was in Oakland. Yeah.
And so I kind of see when you're coming back and forth from Oakland to Oakland and back down there. But that's wonderful.
All right.
We just wish you a lot of luck, and
Thank you.
we're going to see you on the big screen and getting the Academy Award and all that.
I already have my speech ready.
All right, all right. Don't forget us. Mention us.
I got an idea for you.
Yes.
You know, we're in San Jose.
Okay.
We have Sarah Winchester, you know, and
Right.
the heirs to the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. And then there's all the native warriors that have been killed by the Winchesters. Let's have a revenge movie.
Good idea.
That would work.
Yeah.
That would work.
Everybody will get up like the Walking Dead and fight back. Well, thank you for being here. It's so exciting and ready for Halloween.
All right. Thank you for having me very much. All right.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Like us on Facebook, and we have a website, so check us out everywhere. See you next week.
Indigenous soul, indigenous soul, indigenous soul, indigenous soul, indigenous soul, indigenous soul, indigenous soul. Indigenous soul, indigenous soul.